But just again, really have a lot of appreciation for the people that come in here and do the work for us behind the scenes every day. It truly takes a village.
The whispers started in the quiet hallways of WNBA front offices about 3 weeks ago. At first, nobody believed it. A few leaks.
All right. Amber, with the status of labor talks with so many free agents, with an expansion draft, do you have any idea what this offseason might even look like? And if you don't, how do you kind of...
Insiders exchanged knowing glances. Then came the leaked emails, the late-night phone calls between agents. And now, just 2 minutes ago...
I can always get my teammates open and set them up for success, and I think I've been able to find that through the first 2 days of, that's always something I can rely on.
The full scope of what Indiana Fever General Manager Dunn has been plotting behind closed doors has finally surfaced. And let me tell you, this isn't just another off...
Okay, first of all, I know the history behind the WNBA. I know that both of those cities have had teams before and they got us where we're at, so I'm thankful for that.
Season rumor. This is a calculated, multi-year master plan that could either crown the Fever as the WNBA's next unstoppable dynasty or blow up spectacularly in their faces. At the center of it all, 3 names: Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and Lexie Hull. And the year everyone...
I'm just kind of ready for the next chapter and a new challenge in my life, but I think the reason I decided to announce it when I did was just to have that...
One circling on their calendars? 2026. Buckle up, because what you're about to hear is going to change everything you thought you knew about how this league operates. Let's rewind for a second. Just a few years ago, the Indiana Fever were...
They tried to gang up on me with 3 players because I cooked their whole squad. And I had to let their bench know after I hit that 3-pointer to shut their...
Irrelevant. I'm not being dramatic. That's just the truth. Empty seats, losing streaks, a roster that seemed to rotate every other month. Fans stopped showing up. The media stopped caring. The Fever weren't just bad, they were invisible.
I think early on, with the first couple injuries, I was like, I need to get back. I'm going to go to every road game, no matter what, whether I'm playing or not.
And in a league fighting for every ounce of mainstream attention, being invisible is a death sentence. But then Caitlin Clark happened. And when I say happened, I mean she didn't just join the team. She detonated like a bomb in the middle of the WNBA landscape. Ticket prices spiked overnight. Games that used to have a...
I grew up playing the basketball with the boys, so it's always been physical and feisty, and that's what it is, and you got to find a way to hold your own.
A few hundred people suddenly sold out weeks in advance. People who had never watched a single minute of women's basketball were glued to their screens. Clark wasn't just a player, she was an event. A cultural phenomenon. TV ratings shattered records. Merchandise flew off the shelves. Rival teams had to hire extra staff just to handle the crowds when she came to town. Caitlin Clark made the WNBA mainstream, and she did it almost single-handedly. But here's where the story gets interesting. While everyone else was busy celebrating the Fever's sudden comeback, Dunn was already thinking 10 steps ahead. See, Dunn isn't your typical GM. She's not chasing headlines or trying to be the flashiest executive in the room. She's a strategist, a builder, someone who's been around the game long enough to know that popularity without power is just noise. Sure, the Fever were suddenly relevant again, but relevance doesn't win championships. Dunn knew the team still had cracks, a young, inconsistent roster, defensive lapses, the kind of inexperience that gets exposed when the pressure gets real. Caitlin Clark is a once-in-a-generation talent, but even generational talents need a system built around them. And that's exactly what Dunn started constructing. Not just a competitive team, but a machine. A franchise designed to dominate not just for one season, but for years. Now, according to sources close to the organization, Dunn has been quietly laying the groundwork for a 2026 roster overhaul unlike anything the WNBA has ever seen. We're talking about a multi-layered strategy so complex that even rival GMs are scratching their heads trying to figure out how she's planning to pull it off. And at the heart of this plan is Caitlin Clark's contract extension. By 2026, Clark will be eligible for her first major extension, and the rumored numbers being thrown around are absolutely wild. Right now, the WNBA's maximum salary sits at around $250,000 a year, a figure that's been criticized for years as criminally low for athletes who are literally carrying an entire league on their shoulders. But Clark's situation is different. She's not just bringing in money from her WNBA salary, She's a marketing machine. Nike, Gatorade, State Farm, you name it, she's already pulling in millions in sponsorships. The Fever know this, and word is they're preparing to offer her a financial package that completely rewrites the rules. We're talking about creative structuring that could include partial ownership options, deferred bonuses, performance incentives tied to league growth metrics. The kind of deal that could push Clark's total compensation well beyond $500,000, possibly into seven-figure territory when everything's added up. Now I know what you're thinking. How is that even possible under the WNBA's strict salary cap? That's where things get really interesting. Sources say the Fever are exploring what insiders are calling shadow money. Revenue streams that don't count against the official salary cap, but still find their way into players' pockets through legitimate, league-approved means. Think marketing partnerships, team-affiliated appearances, local sponsorship deals structured carefully enough to exist outside traditional player contracts. It's a gray area, but it's a powerful one. Other leagues have been doing this for years. European soccer, Major League Baseball, international basketball. The WNBA, being smaller and still growing, has tighter regulations, but also more flexibility. And Lynn Dunn is the kind of executive who reads every line of the rule book looking for opportunities that others overlook. But here's the kicker. Dunn's plan doesn't stop with Caitlin Clark. Because if you're going to build a dynasty, you need more than one superstar. You need firepower, grit, and experience. And the next piece of the puzzle? Sophie Cunningham. Now, if you follow the WNBA, you know Cunningham's name carries serious weight. She's not the flashiest scorer or the biggest star, but she's the kind of player every championship team secretly wishes they had. Tough, vocal, fearless, utterly relentless. The kind of intensity you can't teach. You either have it or you don't, and Cunningham has it in spades. According to the leaked plan, Dunn is preparing to poach Cunningham from a rival franchise, and not just poach her, but overpay her by a wide margin. We're talking somewhere between $175,000 and $200,000 a year. That would make her one of the highest paid non-superstars in the entire league. At first glance, that sounds reckless. Why would any GM throw that kind of money at a player who isn't a franchise-level scorer? But that's where Dunn's genius lies. Cunningham's value doesn't show up in the box score. It's in the moments between the numbers. The chase-down defense that electrifies the crowd. The corner three that breaks another team's spirit. The way she rallies her teammates in the final 2 minutes when the game is slipping away. She brings leadership and edge that stats can't measure, and Dunn knows that's exactly what this young Fever roster needs. Imagine Caitlin Clark coming off a high screen, drawing the double team, and kicking it out to Cunningham wide open in the corner. That's the kind of offensive synergy that flips playoff games. But it's deeper than X's and O's. Cunningham plays like every possession is personal. She dives on loose balls, talks trash, refuses to back down. That fire is contagious, and for a roster full of young players still learning how to win, it could be transformative. But wait, there's more. The third name on this league plan? Lexie Hull. Now, Hull doesn't grab headlines or trend on social media after every game, but she's the glue. The player who quietly does the dirty work, keeps the locker room steady, plays with discipline and selflessness that coaches dream about. According to insiders, Dunn isn't just planning to keep Hull. She's planning to dramatically overpay her. We're talking about a contract rumored to approach $150,000 a year, nearly double what most front offices would offer for a role player with her stat line. To outsiders, that might sound excessive, but to Dunn, it's a statement of principle. See, Dunn understands something fundamental about team building. You don't just buy talent, you buy culture. You pay for stability. You invest in players who make others better, even if the scoreboard doesn't notice it. By locking up Hull early and paying her well above market value, Dunn is doing more than rewarding loyalty. She's creating it. Because when you take care of the players who grind, who sacrifice, who lead by example, word spreads around the league. Players talk, agents talk, and suddenly the Indiana Fever start to sound like the kind of place where people actually want to play. Now here's where it gets wild. How on earth can Indiana afford all of this? Clark's record-breaking extension, Cunningham's aggressive offer, Hull's premium deal, all while staying under a strict $1.46 million salary cap? The answer lies in timing and financial innovation. First, there's the deferred compensation strategy. Players can agree to take part of their salary later, spreading payments across multiple seasons or even post-career. This minimizes the current year's cap hit while guaranteeing long-term money. Clark could sign a $500,000 extension, but only $300,000 counts toward the 2026 cap, with the rest paid through structured bonuses or future installments. The MLB and NBA use this tactic constantly. Remember Bobby Bonilla? The baseball player who still gets paid every July despite retiring decades ago? That's deferred money. The same principle applies here. But the boldest part of Dunn's rumored plan might be the timing itself. The WNBA's collective bargaining agreement is expected to be renegotiated right around the 2026 window. That transition period creates an opportunity, a moment of uncertainty when new salary cap numbers, bonus rules, or franchise player designations might shift. If Dunn locks in key deals right before the new structure takes effect, the Fever could essentially grandfather in favorable contracts before salaries explode across the league. It's high-stakes financial chess. One wrong move and the Fever could find themselves under investigation or worse, saddled with unmanageable contracts. But if Dunn times it perfectly, Indiana could end up with an all-star roster locked and under a soon-to-be outdated cap, giving them a massive competitive edge for years. And here's the thing, whether this rumored plan is completely real, partially exaggerated, or just straight-up speculation, it's already done something remarkable. It's made us talk about the WNBA not as a novelty, but as a battleground, a place where strategy, money, and legacy collide, where the future of women's basketball will be decided not in press releases, but on the court, one bold decision at a time. The Fever's alleged master plan isn't just about one team's ambition. It's a reflection of what's happening across women's sports as a whole. More attention, more investment, more competition, more money. And with that comes politics, power struggles, and the kind of behind-the-scenes maneuvering once reserved for billion-dollar leagues like the NBA or NFL. In a way, that's progress, the kind that doesn't always feel clean, but is always necessary. So as we look ahead to 2026, as the whispers grow louder and the stakes climb higher, one thing feels inevitable. The WNBA's next chapter will be written by those who dare to think bigger, those who refuse to wait their turn. And if Lynn Dunn and the Indiana Fever are really preparing to say we're next, then we might just be watching history in motion. A story that years from now, fans will look back on and say, that's when everything changed. Because dynasties aren't built overnight. They're built on belief, on defiance, and on the courage to make everyone else uncomfortable. So what do you think? Is Lynn Dunn a visionary rewriting the rules of the game, or a gambler playing with fire? Either way, the league will never be the same again.